the lights go out, the crowd goes dead silent, and then that music, that raw, gritty, unmistakable entrance theme. The arena erupts like a volcano because nobody, and we mean nobody, saw this coming. Dean Ambrose is back. The lunatic fringe has come home. And Roman Reigns, battered and standing alone in the middle of that ring, just got the reinforcement the entire WWE universe has been screaming for since 2019. What's up, wrestling streams familia? Welcome back to the only channel that brings you the fire without the filler. Today we are breaking down one of the most electric moments the wrestling world has been dreaming about for years. We are talking about Dean Ambrose, the man, the myth, the lunatic fringe himself, making his long-awaited return to Monday Night Raw to stand by his brother Roman Reigns when it mattered most. This is the Shield reunion piece you didn't think was possible. We're going deep on the history, the storytelling, the emotion, and exactly why this moment, if and when it happens, would be one of the most significant returns in WWE history. Buckle up, because this one goes all the way. To truly understand why this moment would hit so hard, we have to rewind the tape all the way back. Back in 2012, three men walked into WWE together and changed the game forever. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose debuted as the Shield, a ruthless, calculating faction that dismantled everything in their path. These weren't just stablemates. These were brothers. Forged in the same fire, built in the same gym, and elevated by the same chemistry that you simply cannot manufacture. Every time those three stood in the ring together, something primal happened in the crowd. The Shield didn't just wrestle, they moved like a unit, thought like a unit, and when it was time to fight, they fought like their lives depended on it. 3 Grand Slam champions from a single faction. That legacy doesn't get topped. And let's not gloss over what made the Shield so special, because this matters for everything we're about to break down. When they debuted through the crowd at Survivor Series 2012, attacking Ryback and changing the landscape of that main event, nobody knew what to make of them. Were they heels? Were they hired guns? Were they a cult? The answer was all of the above and none of the above, because the Shield operated outside every category WWE had ever created. They weren't heels you could boo cleanly. They were too cool, too coordinated, too real. The crowd didn't know whether to cheer or jeer, and that ambiguity was the whole point. Dean Ambrose in particular was the wild variable nobody could predict. Roman was the powerhouse. Seth was the acrobat. But Dean? Dean was the unhinged nerve ending of that group, the one who looked like he'd genuinely hurt you if you stepped wrong. He brought a danger to the Shield that made every segment feel unpredictable, and in a product that can sometimes feel scripted to the point of sterility, that unpredictability was worth its weight in gold. Then came the split. The betrayal. Seth Rollins turned his back on his brothers and aligned with the Authority, igniting one of the hottest feuds of the decade. Roman and Dean held the line. They stuck together even as the politics of WWE began pulling them in different directions. The image of Dean Ambrose throwing himself off a ladder through a table to save Roman Reigns, the sheer, unhinged loyalty of that moment told you everything you needed to know about who Dean was as a character and as a brother. Eventually, even Reigns and Ambrose had to go their separate roads, Roman ascending toward the main event, Dean scratching and clawing through the midcard like the unpredictable wrecking ball he always was. They had their program together. They wrestled each other. But even when they were on opposite sides, there was always that undercurrent of brotherhood that the best storytelling in wrestling never lets you forget. And then in April 2019, it all went cold. Dean Ambrose's real name Jon Moxley left WWE when his contract expired. No fanfare. No retirement tour. Just gone. He showed up in AEW days later and the wrestling world was never quite the same. Now here's what people don't talk about enough when they discuss the Ambrose departure. It wasn't just a talent loss. It was a narrative loss. WWE lost the third piece of one of the most complete trios the company had ever assembled. You can repackage Roman. You can rebrand Seth. But you cannot replace the energy that Dean Ambrose brought to any room he walked into. Jon Moxley went to AEW and became arguably the most respected in-ring performer in that company's history, multiple world championships, a reputation for brutally authentic matches, and a fan base that follows him with a devotion that borders on religious. He evolved. He became harder, more stripped down, more dangerous. The version of Dean Ambrose that exists right now, tempered by years of AEW wars and independent circuit battles, is a different beast from the one that left WWE. And that, familia, is exactly what makes the potential return so fascinating. Fast forward to today. Roman Reigns is in the middle of one of the most complex chapters of his entire career. The Bloodline saga has evolved, fractured, and morphed into something almost unrecognizable from where it started. Roman has enemies on every side, from those within his own bloodline who once pledged loyalty, to outside forces looking to dismantle what he spent years building. He's the head of the table, but right now, the table has cracked legs. Sami Zayn is no longer a Bloodline member. GUSO has carved his own path. The Usos as a unit have splintered. Solo Sikoa built his own faction and pointed it directly at Roman. The structure that Reigns spent years carefully constructing has been dismantled piece by piece, and Roman is navigating that fallout in real time. And here's the thing about Roman Reigns that the IWC sometimes forgets in all the debate about his character work and kayfabe at his absolute best. Roman shines brightest when he has someone standing beside him who truly belongs there. Not a hired hand. Not a bloodline soldier who bends to politics. A brother. Now picture this scenario on Raw. Roman Reigns is in the ring, outnumbered, outgunned, and eating a vicious beatdown from a heel faction looking to make a statement heading into WrestleMania season. The numbers game is too much. The cavalry isn't coming, or so it seems. Referees are scattered. The crowd is on their feet with nothing but anxiety because Roman, for all his bravado, is going down. Commentary is selling it like the end of an era. And then that music hits. That entrance theme that hasn't been heard in a WWE arena in years sends a jolt through every single person watching live and at home. Dean Ambrose walks through the curtain. The arena absolutely loses its mind. He doesn't run. He walks that slow, deliberate, unhinged walk that says he's already decided what's about to happen. He slides into the ring, pops up, and the chaos that follows is the stuff of legends. The Shield mentality kicks in immediately. Roman and Dean, shoulder to shoulder, backs against the ropes, clearing house together. No words needed. Just two brothers doing what brothers do. And somewhere backstage, Seth Rollins is watching on a monitor, and his expression tells an entire story without a single word of dialogue. This is what makes a potential Dean Ambrose return to WWE so compelling from a storytelling standpoint. It's not just about nostalgia, though the nostalgia factor alone would send ratings through the roof and crash WWE's social media for the next 48 hours. It's about completion. Roman Reigns' character arc has taken him through every possible iteration. From beloved babyface who the company forced down everyone's throats until the crowd rebelled, to the guy who turned heel and became one of the greatest villains in modern wrestling history, to the tribal chief whose complexities blurred the line between hero and monster, and now back to something closer to the respected og at the top of the food chain. But there's a piece of that puzzle that has always been missing since 2019. Seth Rollins has orbited back into Roman's world. The Shield connection between those two has resurfaced more than once in recent storylines. And every time it does, you can feel the audience leaning forward waiting for the third name to be called. The triangle is incomplete. And wrestling fans, real wrestling fans, feel that absence like a phantom limb. The timing, right now heading into WrestleMania 42, couldn't be more narratively perfect. WWE is building toward the biggest show of the year, and the kind of seismic moment that would shake the foundation of Raw is exactly what this WrestleMania season needs to elevate its stakes. Think about what a fully realized Shield reunion, even a temporary one, even just for a single night, would mean for the product. You have Roman Reigns, a generational star at the peak of his legacy run. You have Seth Rollins, one of the most versatile performers in the history of the company who can work any role in any storyline and make it believable. And then you add Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, who has become an entirely different animal in AEW, harder, more dangerous, more unpredictable than the version that left in 2019. That version of Ambrose walking back into a WWE ring would be appointment television of the highest order. Not just for Shield fans. Not just for nostalgia chasers. For every single person who watches professional wrestling and understands what a genuinely great story looks like. The wrestling world has seen it happen before and been reminded over and over that never is the most dangerous word in this business. Everyone said CM Punk was never coming back to WWE. He came back to a pop that shook the United Center to its foundation. Everyone said Cody Rhodes was done with WWE forever after the way things ended. He came back and main event WrestleMania twice. The logic of "it can't happen" has been shattered so many times in this industry that the only honest answer when someone says Dean Ambrose will never return is, you never know. Seth Rollins himself has spoken publicly about the reunion, keeping that door open with the kind of deliberate ambiguity that tells you the conversation isn't completely dead. Roman Reigns' orbit and Ambrose's orbit have always been intertwined at a fundamental level. And when a contract expires, when the timing aligns, when WWE Creative has the right story ready and the right moment prepared, mountains move in professional wrestling. They always have. What would this do for Roman's current storyline? Everything. It would give the head of the table a wildcard, someone who doesn't operate by any of the Bloodline's rules, someone who can't be bought or manipulated by Solo Sikoa's promises or anyone else's politics, someone whose loyalty runs deeper than kayfabe alliances and faction affiliations. Dean Ambrose returning not as a Bloodline soldier reporting to the hierarchy, but as a Shield brother choosing his family because that's what brothers do. That's the kind of character motivation that writes itself and resonates with audiences because it's rooted in something real. The history is already there. The emotional foundation is already built. WWE wouldn't have to manufacture the connection from scratch. They'd just have to strike the match and let it burn. And the crowd reaction? Forget it. That reaction would be the kind that sends chills down your spine watching it back in replay after replay, the kind that trends globally within minutes, the kind that people talk about for years when they discuss the greatest return pops in Monday Night Raw history. We're talking top 5 pop of the modern era. Easily. Maybe top 3. And let's talk about what this does for Dean Ambrose himself, because this isn't just a Roman Reigns story. The lunatic fringe returning to WWE after years away, battle-tested and rebuilt by everything he went through in AEW, coming back not as the same guy who left but as someone who has seen every corner of this industry and chosen to come home. That is a babyface story for the ages. No long promo needed. No explanation required. The music plays, the walk happens, the fists start flying, and the story tells itself. That is the power of genuine history between characters. That is what makes professional wrestling, at its absolute best, feel like something more than a show. The dream is very much alive, familia. And in a WrestleMania season where anything feels possible, the idea of Dean Ambrose walking back through that curtain to stand beside Roman Reigns on Raw isn't just wishful thinking, it's the kind of story WWE was born to tell. The Shield began together. They bled together, they built something together that this industry will be talking about for generations. Roman Reigns became the biggest star in wrestling. Seth Rollins became one of the most celebrated in-ring performers alive. And Dean Ambrose John Moxley became something that nobody could have scripted completely, authentically himself. 3 men. 3 separate journeys. All roads leading back to the same ring. The Shield began together. They changed WWE together. And if the wrestling gods are feeling generous, and if the business aligns the way these things sometimes do when the stars get it right, they might just close this chapter together too. That's the breakdown, familia. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe we ever see Dean Ambrose back in a WWE ring? Is a full Shield reunion still possible before WrestleMania 42? Hit that like button, smash subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Wrestling streams no filler, just fire. Dean Ambrose returning to Raw to save Roman Reigns would be the moment WWE fans have waited years for, and we're breaking down exactly why the timing is perfect. Is a Shield reunion finally coming? Drop your take below.